Hi, performers and achievers. Welcome to Performers and Achievers Daily with me, Gavurla. In today's episode, we have something very important, a strategy and skill you can use, implement, apply, customize so that you resolve mental fatigue. Yes, mental fatigue. Now, as many of you know, I am inclusive. So therefore, I'm not one to create divisiveness. So in other words, I understand a lot of times there's competition, there's one team against another team, etc. There's rivalries. I'm not really that big into all of that. I am big into civility. I'm big into show good sportsmanship, go show good sportswomanship. I am big into that. And I'm not into taking psychological advantage, manipulating anyone, and denigrating or degrading anyone. And so, however, I am into each person succeeding. And as they succeed, they do good and have good opportunity, good benefits, good options. So, mental fatigue, and this has somewhat of a faith or spiritual point of view. However, again, I am inclusive. I am also very aware that we have people of all types of faith. We have people who have philosophy of life, people who are spiritual, people who are not spiritual or not faith oriented or non faith, agnostics, atheists. And so I'm an inclusive person. And so if this is beneficial to you, then implement it and apply it, benefit from it. It is beneficial to me. It's supportive. And it's something that I use because sometimes I do have mental fatigue. However, what's important to know as I've implemented this and applied this is the following, is that there is a cue, right? A cue. From the cue, there is a routine. From the routine, there is a reward, right? Cue, routine, reward. So sometimes when we have mental fatigue, what's the cue? We don't know. We just have mental fatigue. And it can be just like you just don't want to do anything. Don't have the energy, the gumption, the availability, the whatever you want to call it. And the solution is, oh, you need to go exercise and you'll feel better, or you'll do better, or you'll benefit. Or no. First thing we need to do is we need to get your mind right. Get your mind right, or get my mind right is what I do. Okay? Because when that fatigue is there, or if it's there, because now I don't experience it as often, what happens? My emotion is there. And I try sometimes to like pump myself up with emotion or positive emotion or positive emotion arousal. Emotion is immediate, right? And it's still sometimes challenging because it's just this nasty, just inactive, just yucky feeling. Can't really describe it that much. And so then you go to feel and you try to feel like feel excited, feel energy, feel your energy flow. And all these are valid. I use them at times. And feel relentless, and still just for that fraction or moments, you may receive a little bit of stimulus. However, again, the cue occurs. And this isn't an external cue, or not a cue that we know that, okay, that, hey, I'm supposed to go to the gym. This is when you just sort of have mental fatigue. And it's just so hard to move sometimes. And so, what is it then? Well, you can go logically and try to say, well, I'm supposed to go to the gym, or I'm supposed to go do this, and I'm supposed to be helping this person or working on this, and the mental fatigue is still there. It's still there. It's like you can't move. It's a yucky, nasty, I don't know, I don't know, it's just like it's just yucky. And so if you try to do the emotion, and especially if it's yucky, you may start to try to empathize with it and try to feel it through and just say, yeah, I'm feeling yucky, and acknowledge it that way. And eventually it'll go away, and maybe not. Same thing with feeling, same thing with logic. However, here's my strategy, my skill. And again, I am an inclusive person. And so, one thing to keep in mind, though, before I get to that, is you have your availability, you have your energy, you have your priority task, and then you have your, let's say, capital or financial, right? Then you put all those in parentheses and you multiply it by the probability, right? And some of you all who are familiar with my book have seen this. Probability is either a 100%, a 0%, or a 1.5, 50%. If it's a 0, don't do it. Well, if it's a 1, do it. If it's a 0, don't do it. If it's not a 0 or not a 1, then you should look into it more, right? Look into it, gather more information, talk about it, discuss it, right? So here's my strategy. My strategy is this. My God mind is what I say to myself, what I tell myself, what I think to myself. My God mind. And I just let it, there's nothing else to try to put in there. There's not any scripture, there's not any non-scripture, there's not any logic really, or knowledge, or anything else. Not any feeling, not any emotion, not any skill, really nothing. Just those words. My God mind. And as you do that, if you're like me, so in other words, it would be for you, it would be your God mind. And so if you're saying it, you would say my God mind, like I demonstrated. And somehow that alleviates a lot of the mental fatigue. Alleviates the mental fatigue for me and my crowd. And I know you don't know what my crowd is. However, I will probably explain that someday, or for me and my team, or for my team, as in me being on a team, teamwork, my good teamwork, or for my family, since I'm with family, or with my extended family, or with my friends, or with my citizens, or with etc. So that is the skill, my God mind. Doesn't matter what your faith is. Like I said, there's many types. I'm inclusive. Whether you have faith, philosophy of life, spiritual, agnostic, atheist, something else, doesn't matter. There's nothing to do, nothing to get, nothing to feel, nothing to see, nothing to hear, nothing to listen to, nothing to show, nothing to demonstrate, nothing to have to, need to, nothing to want to, nothing to discover, nothing to look into, nothing to look forward to, nothing to sense. These three words, my God, mind. And as your mental fatigue alleviates, instead of always thinking about time, you already know how much time it is going to take, most likely. If you don't, then obviously you try to estimate it. And if you need more time, then we add more time, go through the proper communication, good communication. However, you can say my availability, or since you're already wherever you are, you can say or think my task. So in other words, your task is to finish whatever assignment you're working on or project or specific task on that project. Go to the gym, play a sport, go for a walk. My walk. That's the task, right? Because I've taken away your dream or my dreams, your dreams. They're still there, but they're not currently a part of your task. In a way, they are. Your clear goals, taking that away. I've taken it all the way down to your priority task, which priority task Priority is implied in my task. So as you do that, my task, your task, whatever task that may be, it is a priority task, or you wouldn't be doing it right now. Therefore, it's the priority task. And therefore, again, let's say it's the dinner, my dinner. That you really taste your food. The number of taste buds on your tongue. If you'd really let your beverages, your nutrition, I call it nutrition, not food, really taste it and allow your tongue underneath, on the sides, on top of it. You'll see so many sensations of flavors come out of your nutrition instead of your drinks and nutrition being gulping it down or an event, something to savor. And that's what really my dinner should be about, or your dinner should be about, or is about. And as you do this, and you have that task, now that energy is already occurring automatically. And sure enough, as you do these tasks, they add up, compound effect, and your goals, clear goals are there, and your dreams are there. However, it's that priority task, your task, one task. Now, the mental fatigue isn't there. And sure enough, you start doing your tasks, you gain rhythm, you gain momentum, tempo, maybe you have a lather, depending on what you're doing. And then all of a sudden, start losing that focus or that concentration, attention, paying attention. All the keywords you use, I mean, yes, they're effective. And all of a sudden, you're like, maybe starting to wane a little. But then you can create your cue instead of waiting. Or your routine now is, regardless of the cue, instead of creating the cue, your routine now, regardless of what's cueing that, whether it's internal, something that you can't really control, at least not now, or it's external, your routine is to think, talk to yourself, or tell yourself, or say to yourself silently. And if you want, you can say it out loud. My God, mine. And from that cue of mental fatigue or losing focus, concentration, not paying attention, etc., difficulty, you receive the routine, my God, mine, and the reward. And then my task or your task? Am I washing the dishes? Am I going to the gym and going to the locker room, changing into my appropriate dress attire, legally and properly equipped, so I can go into the exercise and do my exercise, properly dressed, legally and properly equipped? Sure, sometimes you just want to go get the exercise in and you want to go in with your jeans, got your t-shirt on. You try to bypass that routine of going into the locker room. Let me ask you, when you play sports, you play in your jeans and a t-shirt on? No, you don't. And you think that you're like maybe saving time, which I don't really think about time that much. I think about my availability and my energy because I'm already know how long it's going to take. So it take an hour to do my workout. So time's irrelevant. However, I go into the locker room, I'm appropriately dressed. I have my reward, and I have, say, my gym session. Make sense? Does it make sense? It makes sense to me. It's good for me and my crowd. And I give you a little bit of a insight into what my crowd is. Sometimes I'm an individual. There's nobody there in the gym, nobody around me. It's just me. And so I like to think that I'm there with my crowd. And this is your bonus is my crowd is invisible and they are watching me. And for me, it's good for me and it's good for my crowd because then I'm not all by myself. Especially if you're a person who does things that are sometimes independent, working independently, even though you may be working for an organization on a team, etc. Sometimes you're independent or you're a solopreneur or you're an expert who has their support system, obviously, their network. However, you're the expert. You're the one that's able to provide the service, the programs, the services, the programs. So a lot of times you are by yourself. I'm shooting this video. There's no one here. No one says for me to shoot the video. No one tells me to shoot this video. However, I know it's good for me, good for my crowd, and It's good for my customers and who are performers and achievers. All of my customers are. And it's good for performers and achievers. That's what I have in today's episode. I think, or maybe I should say, I know that this and feel and have positive emotion, positive feeling that this can really benefit many of you because I am aware what is happening in our communities, in our society, in our world, in the universe, in families, locally. You know, more and more I look at it, the more and more I love being at home. It's safe. It's peaceful. And sure, I like to meet people, and that's where people, right? So obviously, that's an essential. So if you like my podcast, like it and make a comment. For those interested in my private, personal, professional, confidential services and programs, visit my website, rajgavurla.com, fill out the brief form, and we will be in touch with you as soon as we can. Enjoy your day.